Okay, actually, Christian should have introduced us, but I'm going to do that. Yes, this is Jonas Mekas. I think you know him. Filmmaker and artist from New York. We're very happy to have him here. This is our first event what we do together. Scrapbook of the 60s. It's a book what we bring out, or brought out. It's came fresh from the printing house today. Here.
Good to be here. Hamburg.
Hello.
And good to be at the Pudel. You can hear me.
Yes.
You can hear me without a mic.
Yeah.
But it's okay. I will be even louder than. But this belongs right now to you.
Okay, actually, the book is called Scrapbook of the 60s, and you said that the most texts are from the 60s, and I was wondering. I mean, you have a long life, and you've been seeing a lot, and it seems to be that the 60s were the most fruitful time in terms of how artists has been collaborating with each other, different arts also, cinema, filmmakers, artists, musicians, performers. I mean, we have a lot of texts about performance or performer in the book. Karl Schneemann, for example, or Hermann Nitsch. And I just...
Yeah, no, because it was a period when, like the end of all classic periods in all of the arts, in theater, in dance, in music. I mean, there was John Cage coming in dance. We had Yvonne Rainer, and of course, already it was post Martha Graham, post everybody, post Balanchine. And in every art, and there was a Beat Generation already coming there. Fluxus was coming in there. There were, I mean, in every happening theater was emerging, coming in. Everything was changing. It was so intense, and so much was happening. And of course, when I decided to organize the first festival of expanded cinema, that is where not only cinema but all other arts come together, are being used, merged, and different possibilities. And in the fall of 1965, I already discovered that about 30 artists, there were 30 different people who were doing something, and each one was doing something different. So much was happening there. And of course, there was a cooperation and exchange between different artists. Schneemann, she worked with Rauschenberg, she worked with poets, with not only with performance artists or theater. I mean, there was a lot of that happening. A lot was happening. It was exciting. And intense. There was intensity.
But if you compare it to today, I mean, if this New York of today, how does it feel?
No, today is also, I think, a lot is happening, but it's somewhere else. We do not have really perspective, but I think that the internet and the different art forms are developing, coming to its existence today also. I don't spend that much time on internet, but those who spend time tell me, different forms of poetry developing just on internet, and the very fact that we can now exchange. That okay, Cocteau said the cinema will become, like real art when it will like a pencil, like a pen. But that's where we are. That's where we are, and that's an amazing change, and amazing new possibilities. Every new tool comes in with its new content, new forms, and I think we are in an amazing transitional period to which we do not, we think, oh, it was so much happening in the 60s, and it was. But I think we are again at another end of a long period in this civilization, culture, that is, again, I find it very exciting.
Okay. Jonas, would you like to read this text for us? I asked Jonas before we started here if he could read one text. It's a text he wrote about a film. It's Jean. Don't tell. Okay. Okay. Do you have enough light here? Maybe here. Okay. You want to stay here? Okay.
Yeah, I will put this. Yeah. I should tell what you first that in 1964, there were many things happening, as I said, intense period, but changes were taking also in the attitude, style of living, and attitudes to various aspects of relationship, of behavior, of what we feel, think about this and that, including human body. And there we come to censorship, and it was still very, very strong censorship as far as in films you could not show certain parts of the body. We are talking about March 1964. And I was arrested twice once for screening Jack Smith's Flaming Creatures, because it contains some human parts which censors thought was not proper to include in a film. Very innocent. Those who have seen the film since then, you know that's a very simple, innocent film. And I was again arrested for screening Jean Genet's Chant d'Amour because of the gay content. So, but I want to tell you how this film on Chant d'Amour came actually to New York. Because at that time it was not screened publicly. I screened it publicly in a limited auditorium, limited audience, but it was a public event. But it was not yet publicly screened in Paris. Okay, so here it is. The year was 1964, early January. From Knock-Closut's Experimental Film Festival, where Barbara Rubin and I created a scandal when they forbid us to show Jack Smith's film Flaming Creatures, we proceeded to Paris, where we spent some time with Roman Polanski as our driver. He had a car, a tiny car, but a car. I see a mistake here. It says we had. No, he had.
Every book is a mistake.
Here is a bad one. Bad one. We had a car. Imagine that, me in Paris having a car. Come on, come on. So, in any case, Roman Polanski, as our driver, I will correct it. He had a car, a tiny car, but a car. Eventually, he gave up when Barbara decided to go swimming in the Seine. We could not persuade her not to do that. So we left her by the Seine and went to La Coupole. It was during that trip that I revisited Nico Papatakis. I had met him some years earlier during the reshooting of Cassavetes' film Shadows. In 1950, Nico helped Jean Genet make his only film on Champ d'Amour. It was a legendary film which few people had seen, even in Paris. The censors did not allow it to be shown in the theaters. So I asked Nico if I could take a print of it to New York. Nico wondered why I wanted to take that kind of risk, but I was very determined about it. So now we were at Café de Flore, and in my huge raincoat pockets, I had the film. Since the travelers from Paris to New York usually were checked very thoroughly, I decided to go first to London for a day, and then arrive in New York from London instead. You have to know that Paris in 1964 was considered by the customs people a smut city. On my previous return from Paris to New York, they confiscated 2 Olympia Press books I was carrying in my bag. London travelers were not being checked so carefully at customs. That was the advice given to me by Brian Geisen, in whose home I was staying in Paris. So that's what I did. On the plane from London to New York, I got into a conversation with my neighbor, who happened to be Harold Pinter, the playwright. He was on his way to New York for the opening of one of his early plays. As we were talking, we discovered that we knew some of the same people, including Nico Papatakis. So I told him what I had in my pockets. We discussed the best strategy to deal with the customs guys. The plan that we devised was that he would go first, since he had more stuff. I usually travel very, very light. I was to follow after him. And that's what we did. He got his huge suitcase down from the running belt, and we moved towards the customs guy of Pinter's choice. I followed him almost like a servant. The customs man surveyed us and asked Pinter to open his suitcase, which Pinter did. The customs man looked in, and his face went strange. There was nothing in the suitcase but some 30 copies of Pinter's play. "What are these?" asked the customs guy. "Oh, it's my play that is opening on Broadway next week," said Pinter calmly. You had to see the face of the customs guy. He lit up. His eyes lit up. He went all gaga. "Here is a real Broadway playwright, a celebrity, a suitcase full of plays." All excited, he motioned to a couple of other customs guys. "Come, take a look. This guy has a play on Broadway, no joke." They all surrounded the suitcase, staring at it in an awe that I cannot describe to you. And since they seemed to ignore me completely, and I had no suitcase, I just walked through. Then I turned around and waved to Pinter. I could see from his face that he enjoyed the way the affair went. I proceeded towards the exit with a print of Alexander Moore in my raincoat pockets. So that's how the film got shown in New York. Any questions? I am at your disposal. Okay, I mean, so it's the book. Yeah, it's.
Any questions?
No, they don't seem to. Well, you don't have to have questions here.
I have one question left. Okay.
Because I live with no questions asked. I just live, yes.
Now we are coming to the second part of our evening. We have Peter Sempel here, filmmaker from Hamburg. Probably you know him.
Vielleicht zwei Sätze ganz kurz. Erst freue mich riesig, dass Jonas Mekas mit 92 nach Hamburg gekommen ist. Das ist eine Sensation. Der Kerl macht uns immer noch allen uns was vor, ich sag's dir. Ich habe ihn 1984 erstmal in Turin kennengelernt durch seinen Film He Stands in the Desert Counting the Seconds of His Life. Das war so ein genialer Titel, ich kannte Jonas gar nicht und habe durch den Film ihn ein bisschen kennengelernt. Er war der einzige Mensch in New York, der meinen Film Dandy 1989 in New York zeigte, mit Nick Cave, Blixerbarger bei der Premiere. Und gestern in Berlin hat er ein Interview im Radio gehabt. Und er wurde gebeten, seine Lieblingsmusiker zu nennen, die gespielt werden sollen. Unter anderem hat er Nick Cave genannt mit dem Song Christina the Astonishing. Und ich habe 30 Minuten vorgestern zusammengeschnitten. Das letzte Lied in diesen 30 Minuten ist Christina the Astonishing. Ja, jetzt weißt du Bescheid. Wisst ihr Bescheid?